Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here. Today I'm going to be doing a recommendation list of some of my favorite photography related podcasts. Now I know podcasts are kind of a saturated media right now, and there's definitely millions of them probably by now. But these are a couple of podcasts I think are very either entertaining or informative. So these are a handful of them. I got a few here that I think you'd like, and so let's go ahead and get into them. So the first podcast I have is Shutter Nonsense. This is hosted by Jeffrey Tadlock and Michael Rung. Pretty new podcast, I think, and they have some really good episodes, just some banter back and forth between the two about their trips and travels and whatnot. So really good podcast, really good vibes. Why did I say vibes? But it's a really good show. So the next one I have is called F-Stop, Collaborate, and Listen by Matt Payne. He is a Colorado-based landscape photographer, but his podcast knows no bounds. He has nature photographers on, of course, but he even has some like portrait photographers or abstract or really just anything that kind of like breaks the mold. So his podcast has a variety of guests, and he's a really great interviewer and conversationalist, and it's a really nice, entertaining podcast all the same. The next one I have is called Deep Natter. This is no longer, I think, being made, unfortunately, but when I discovered this podcast a couple years ago, I binge listened to like every episode, just a few hundred probably, because I really just liked it that much. But this podcast was hosted by Jeffrey Sidoris and Sean Tucker, who you may know from YouTube. He has a pretty well-known and recognized YouTube channel. And so Sean is a street photographer. Jeffrey, he kind of dabbles in some photography, but he's by and large a painter, like mixed media artist. And the conversations these guys would have, not all of them were photography related, but I just like the podcast that much that I want to recommend it. We're very like philosophical based, very heady, and just really deep and thoughtful conversations about creativity, art, the human condition even. It's just, they do some great stuff, and I really wish the podcast would come back, but we can dream maybe someday. So the next one I have is actually another Jeffrey Sidoris podcast. It is called On Taking Pictures. I think just recently, at the time of recording this, came back from hiatus for like about 2 years or so. But there's quite a backlog of episodes to listen to. I don't think they have video versions of it, but it's hosted by Jeffrey Sidoris and Bill Wadman. And unlike Deep Natter, this is entirely focused on photography, or at least most of the time the conversations are steered that way. And so really great stuff about just like the old antique cameras, film, alternative processes, of course digital photography, and just overall creativity, and anything that comes around with doing images and taking them, of course. So next one is also kind of like a newer podcast. It's called the Angry Bird Pod Show. This is hosted by Matt Parrish and Kyle Dunnigan. This is a hilarious, very much vulgar but entertaining podcast. Just two guys from Canada. They're friends, of course, but they're just casually hitting it off and just talking about birds and stories, and anything really with wildlife photography, because that's what they do. And they have just two great personalities, and a lot of funny stories and stuff. And it's a great show. It's definitely a lot more lighthearted, not so much the deep conversations like the other podcasts that I've mentioned. All right, so the next one is you may have heard of it. It's called All Outdoors Photography Podcast. If you don't know, I used to do a podcast with my fellow friend and photographer, Henry Doyle. And it was, we did it for a couple years pretty consistently. And so I'm just going to shamelessly plug it here that there is quite a backlog, pretty close to 100 episodes. A lot of those have guests. A lot of them don't, it's just me and Henry talking about a topic or just our lives or what we've been shooting lately. But, I got to plug it because it is a podcast and it's still out there for you guys to listen to. And some of you may not be actually familiar with it. So now's your chance to come catch up on it. And will we return to the show? I hope so. I think we're both maybe planning on it. I don't want to say that for sure right now, but we can see. And, we'll see where it goes. And the last one, another shameless plug, unfortunately, is Field Notes, which is my Substack podcast blog, where I do it once a month. And so I'm shamelessly plugging it, that it's a monthly show that I do. Recently just started doing video versions of it, and it's about half an hour episodes where I just talk into the microphone and the camera about my whereabouts, what I've been up to in, photography, nature, whatever it may be really. And I include some photos as well and some show notes if they are applicable. And it's just a nice way to kind of like keep in touch. And of course, with it being on the Substack, platform, I have like an email newsletter that you can subscribe to. And so, like I said, about once a month, I release usually it's on the first of the month, a new Substack episode. And that's basically a good way to keep in touch, because I don't do too much social media anymore to get like updates about what I'm up to. So this is a good way to kind of like keep in touch, and it's a very nice alternative, I think. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Just a handful of podcasts I'd recommend. I believe most of them, if not all, are on the popular streaming podcast platforms, wherever you may find them. I'm pretty sure all of them are on YouTube. So just double check whatever platforms of choice you have or use. And thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you guys would recommend for podcasts you listen to if you do. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.